Welcome to the Media Bolt podcast, where we talk all things content creation. My name's Justin Jackson.
I'm Eric Didier.
And no matter whether you're creating with a cell phone or you're creating big budget films with a cinema camera, we aim to provide you with practical knowledge to help you the next time you hit the record button. On today's episode, we're just going to talk the origin stories, why we got started, and where we're going with this podcast. Dids, let me lead it off to you. What was the reason for us to start this podcast?
You know, I think a big part of this podcast is with the business side. We do so much to try and give back, whether that's volunteering our time and skill sets for nonprofit efforts, whether that's, just making good story content or films for brands, businesses, individuals. And I think we really wanted a space where we can just kind of talk about all the things that interest us within our space, whether that's something that just came out in the tech world. There's many times that we're sitting on FaceTime during our meetings and we're just chatting about the latest and greatest that's coming out. And I think we just wanted a place to put all of our word vomits. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but I think that's really the truth for us. I think, we wanted another space where we can grow the brand of the business, and with all of the, the different names that we discussed and came really down to just Media Bolt Podcast, I think it's important for us to have a space where we can really just create, a space that we can grow our personal brands with the content that gets from this podcast, but also a space where anybody that's listening, whether you're, scared to post that first video on LinkedIn, I've dealt with a lot of those people, whether it's somebody who's, looking for their next biggest, break in becoming a DP, we want to provide the skills, tools, assets for those people, and even just plant some seeds. Oh, I heard this on this podcast. Let me just go try that. I've got a camera at home. I can just go try some of these things. Reaching out to all those people and just being that space for everybody to do that, I think is important.
Yeah. Our company, we do so many things. We're a production company, but sometimes we're asked to create content for clients. Sometimes we're asked to put together storyboards and create a film, or to look at it more of a documentary type lens. So this podcast is another culmination of those things. We actually produce a podcast with our company for another brand, and this was like a no-brainer. We're like, let's do our own thing too, and start to, really lean into what it is to be a content creator, because it makes things a lot easier for us to kind of put more content together like this, get our faces out there more, continue to brand ourselves personally and as a business. So this was just like a no-brainer for us. Plus, I feel like we've put a lot of time into what we're doing, and it's time to share, some of our knowledge with other people and other, creators because I remember when I just started and I didn't know what I was doing, and I found different content creators or filmmakers that I just really liked, and they really inspired me to help me get to where I'm at today currently. So we just hope to be another vessel for others,
Yeah, I think, being another YouTube you in sense is kind of what we're really hoping to, in part. I mean, there's many lanes to this podcast, I think, but we're still going to be narrowed enough that anybody can really grow. So let's dive into what the origin story is for Media Bolt Productions.
Yeah, man, Media Bolt Productions was just completely blessed timing.
It was.
All right, so I'll just kind of tell you the cliff notes, and we'll talk a little deeper about how we got there. But we started in September 2020, which was, in all regards,
not the best time,
horrible time, right? And but it worked out perfectly for us in a lot of different ways. For me personally, I was working in logistics a year before that, trucking logistics, nothing to do with filmmaking, doing video stuff on the side, family photos on the side, finishing up film school, that kind of thing. And I got an opportunity from Did's company to come on board and be, a filmmaker, work in production with the Misfits. And that was the first time that I got to go full time into filmmaking, and that was February 2020. And we all know what happened a month later. So that was my first time getting to explore the world and wake up every day and be challenged and creative and a filmmaker, and it felt so good. So that was kind of where I was, and you can kind of talk about what happened after that.
Yeah, so my road to Media Bolt Productions was led through Urban Misfit Ventures, my first business, and we were similar but not the same in what we do now as Media Bolt Productions. I would say a lot more on the shorter form. than the longer form storytelling that we do now. But a lot of aspects I think do come over. And, Justin was our last hire before, as we know it, in 2020, the world kind of became a different place. And unfortunately, due to those circumstances, Urban Misadventures did have to close its doors. But I couldn't be more thankful for everybody's work at Urban Misadventures. I couldn't be more blessed for all of the time at Urban Misadventures. And honestly, like it led me to the business owner that I am now with Meaningful Productions. And I think that is kind of one of the unsung heroes of what otherwise would be looked at as a very bad, bleak thing. But, it's so cool because, we were blessed to maintain a lot of those clients from Urban Misadventures because, we were the only two that, we kind of looked at each other like, I don't want to stop doing this. This is what I love doing. But we evolved from Urban Misadventures into Meaningful Productions and really took the storytelling aspect to the next level. And I think that's what's super important for our clients is it's great to just put something out that people are like, oh, I see this, but it's a different thing to be like, I feel this. And I think that's really important for what we do now. And, all roads lead to the same place in essence. And I think that, it's just been nothing but blessings to get us to this point and get us to the point where, Meaningful Productions is doing well enough. And we feel that adding this podcast is another layer to that.
Yeah. It's crazy. We've been in business for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
And, when we started, one of the big things that we wanted to focus on was, be the Ferrari of production, so that meant for us really tightening up our game, learning cinematography at a new level, focusing on just having the crispest audio possible and storytelling, number one. And I think we've really focused on that from the beginning, and it proves in our work because we really are trying to push things to the next level, whether we're doing a corporate shoot or we're doing, a short story or a short film or something like that, like to really focus on the nuanced filmmaking details. And then it makes it a lot easier to create content off of that because your content, gets kind of chopped out of that or kind of, gets some behind the scenes. Yeah, things like that. But when we started the company, that was like the real focus and has been our focus all the way, which has been great. And I think I would tell anyone, like if you're starting a business, just focus on telling the best stories possible. And then people are going to find your work that way.
Well, and it's crazy. We are a storytelling company, but we would preach to anybody, whether or not they're in media, that telling your company's story is going to lead you to long-term success.
Absolutely.
So we kind of are getting into that. So let's just dive full into it. What got us into filmmaking as individuals?
Yeah. So my story is quite crazy, and I'm just going to lead this off. We're going to have an episode after this about each one of ours launches into being a filmmaker, being content creators.
A lot of good stuff in those.
So those, you can look for those on this launch. But so mine, I'll just kind of start quickly. I played professional baseball for 10 years prior to me getting into filmmaking at all. My last season, kind of knew the writing was on the wall. It was about to be over with. But I was like, I got to figure out what I'm doing next. And my uncle was always a photographer, always into like that kind of thing. So my natural thought was, let me hit my uncle up and be like, hey, Uncle Todd, big shout out to you. Can you film my coaching video that I'm going to do? So I started a YouTube channel and started talking about baseball because I wanted to be maybe a coach after, because that's all I really knew. And
5 points to anybody that finds those videos.
Yeah. Hey, they're still out there. Look for it. But yeah, so got into doing a couple videos, filming on my iPhone. My uncle brought his camera out to the field one day. We recorded this video. I was like, could you edit it? Send it to me. And the best thing ever happened. He said, I'll do this one, but after this, it's just too much work for me to just do these for you. So, and it was like the best thing he ever could have said to me. So he knew me well enough to know I'm just going to go do it myself. So I got in the car, went to Best Buy, picked up a GoPro because I didn't know what I was going to get. Got a GoPro and like an attachment mic and just started down this YouTube journey. I went and played my final season and decided to vlog that season. And you know what? By the end of the year, I was more interested in storytelling and filmmaking than baseball. And it was just the biggest blessing. So it was really easy for me to leave that and start into, making videos, making stuff, and kind of rolled into doing some weddings and stuff for my brother and sister-in-law. I got done with baseball and then got a job in logistics for 2 years and just grinded on the side. And then, what we talked about before kind of happened. But that was my origin stories. It was really a needs to an end. Like I needed to learn how to do something because baseball was done. And man, I found a new passion.
Yeah, and for me, I I wanted to be back when Call of Duty content was CNanners and Hutch and Machinima and all of that. I wanted to be on that squad and be the next big YouTuber. So I bought a camera to film myself playing Call of Duty and to have all of these YouTube videos and clips and moments, and that did not work and didn't pan out. And I'm glad it didn't because I was way too young. It would have been a mess. But it led me into this, okay, well, this thing takes pictures too. All right, well, then I'm taking pictures of just things I have around the house. I'm on social media doing that game, working that, and really just garnered attention from companies for taking pictures of their products, even though I'm just building my craft on the side by taking pictures of things that I'm just using every day. It worked as a social media influencer, it worked as a photographer, and it grew into being a videographer as well. And I think just having those times where I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna work on this, it really led me into falling in love with the passion and the craft. And when I was realizing that, I bought this Canon T3i, and oh my gosh, like it's gonna be great. And then I realized it doesn't have video autofocus. And I'm like, well, now I got to get a camera with video autofocus for those things. And it just it grew, and I just kept loving doing it. And it's truly a story of hobby becomes career.
Yeah, dude, this filmmaking journey is incredible, and it's one of the things that I'm just most happy and blessed that I fell into. So tell me a little bit what each one of our expertise in filmmaking. We're a little bit different as creators, and I think it helps because we're able to cover a bigger spectrum of projects and styles of projects and ways to approach it. So what do you think like your main focus and your expertise is when it comes to filmmaking?
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about Irma's Adventures is that it taught me to have many hats. Mm-hmm. And I think both of us are naturally people and business owners that want to at least know everything that's going on. So if there's something that needs to be fit in or filled in, we can take over or whatever that looks like. So I think for me, it's really cool because we have such a dynamic where at first it was kind of like we were both kind of having our hands in everything, but then it was like, all right, well, what do you have passions in? What do I have passions in? Let's maybe specialize on set with all of our projects because, we are Media Productions. We do contract out workers and all that, but the team is what you're looking at on camera right now. It's just the two of us. So
just the two of us.
Exactly. So we have to know a lot of what's happening. We have to understand every piece of the set. So for me, I really dove into audio. I have always been that a great video is great because of the audio. Audio is half of the video, but I think it gives maybe a little bit more than half the impact. Personally, I feel that way. So for me, I dove deep into that. I've always been a techie. I've always been huge into organization. So kind of becoming a bit of a DIT on set has been kind of where I've fallen into. I love that side of the tech of it, and obviously we're doing these things in maybe a little bit of a less glorified role than if it was something that we would go to a set specializing in. But I do feel like, we have a lot of skills, a lot of assets. I'm typically in those two areas. I'll help out with lighting and, I think I'm maybe a little bit of a bug in this sense, but I like to, I'll let you kind of create the set, get the cameras up, get the lighting, and then I'm working on audio, I'm working on my things, and then I'll come and just critique all of what
and you also make sure I don't have batteries and things that are charged.
SD cards and
yeah, I'm horrible at that.
Yeah.
Thank God for Dids, or we'd
we probably have the battery on the set right now.
Yeah, we'd be missing my angle right now. Yeah, I think we're both, like I said, very different. For me, the nuances of filmmaking are things that just I love and dive into, like cinematography and just like colors and just the image just drives me nuts and wild. I love that. So that kind of stuff that I've really focused on, especially I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago, I knew that's what I was missing. So I really kind of started to focus on that, learn different styles of lighting, framing, why to use certain frames to tell a story, all that kind of stuff. So that's where my brain goes, to that DP kind of mindset, director mindset. And that's really kind of where I lean into. And I think that's what makes us a dangerous team, because we, on smaller projects, we can kind of cover the spectrum. And as they get a little bit bigger, we have enough knowledge and resources to kind of, delegate to our teams so that we can, be successful and do the things that our clients are looking for. But, filmmaking is just so great. And it honestly, we'll dive into that later, but it really changed my life and saved my life in a lot of different ways. And I just love it so dearly. I love it so dearly.
So let's end this intro episode and just talk briefly about what we really hope to achieve with this podcast.
Yeah. I hope that we can help inspire others in whatever way that's possible. Whether it's, on your ride to work, you throw us on and you just, learn something, or maybe it inspires you to go pick your camera up after work or whatever and get to creating, or start to make a way that you become a full-time creator like we've been blessed to be. I just want to be a vessel for that. And I think that we've gotten to the point, at least for me personally, that I think it's time for me to give back as much as I can back into this, because so many people have taught me things, whether I've met you or not, and you're in the YouTube space, or you're part of our Milwaukee culture here and been able to kind of, help in that way. And it's just time for us and me personally to just like be out here and give that back to.
Yeah, and it's a blessing for me. Part of my personal content structure from day one, even as a bad Call of Duty YouTuber, was give back the knowledge that I've learned so that I can hopefully help you not have to take the stumbles that I did. And I think this is going to be a great place for both of us to kind of bring those things to the world. We'll add in things of, not strict helpful tools and knowledge. We've got some episodes in the works that are kind of more current events, but still within the space. So, if you want to know our take on something that's coming out that might impact the way we do our job, we're going to talk about those things. And that's part of a much larger scale of what you can look forward to.
Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, I ask that no matter what platform you are on, to subscribe, like, and do what you got to do so that you can hear our next episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.